Hey guys, and welcome to the Hobby News. Alright, this week we're getting dragons. Well, not quite yet, but they're coming, so let's take a look. Alright, so even more dragons are coming to the Age of Sigmar, and now they've got riders. So this was the sort of bit that they were hinting at, I guess, the other week, and yeah, we have a nice little comedic video there, but that's not really what we want to see. We want to see these guys. So yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, it's an interesting idea to bring this type of unit into Stormcast, I guess. You're going to get some nice long-range movement now, some flyers moving around with hopefully the damage to back it up and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. So let's have a read and see what they say. There's so much we want to say about the Stormdrake Guard, and we will. But here's the single coolest thing about them. If you take a Knight Draconis as your general, your Stormdrake Guard units become battle line, and you know what that means. All dragon armies, yeah. So that means that we're going to get basically the ability to have all dragon armies, I guess, which is really cool. You know, that's never really been done in Warhammer, either in fantasy or in AOS, I guess, that you haven't been able to do that kind of thing, which is like, you know, one of those fantasies, you know, that everyone has about, you know, this type of genre stuff, you know, the whole, like, you know, units of dragons flying. There's a lot of stories that use dragon riders and all that kind of stuff. I won't go into those books, but you know which ones they are. And, you know, it's a trope or an idea that's been around in many stories for a long time, but Warhammer's never really like dug into that before. You know, they've always had classic dragons and all that kind of stuff, but not to the extent of this, where you're getting like you know, the ability to just field an entire army of them with riders and so on. And so it's an interesting idea. I'm surprised they haven't done it before, but here we are all these years later, and now they're doing it. So and interestingly, quite a classic idea of a dragon as well, not really pushing away from the AOS stuff, although they are moving a little bit. This is a different type of classic dragon. It's sort of a blend of, I guess, East and West. You've got this, you know, these have hair, which is an interesting feature for the dragons, but that often you see that, well, I don't know whether it would be hair, but in a lot of like, I guess, like Eastern interpretations or, you know, like cultures that, you know, depict different types of dragons, more serpentine-like dragons and that sort of thing. They often have, you know, that sort of like, I don't know whether it's hair or not, but they'll have that type of growths on the sides of the head and so on, that you'll see in, like, you know, either like historical sort of, if you look at artwork from, like, you know, very old China, just depictions of dragons, or, you know, Japan and so on. They all have these types of things. We have these flowing kind of tendrils coming off them, and I guess that's hair. I haven't really dug deep on that historical fact of whether their dragons actually have hair or not, but they do have this kind of motif. So to me, that's what that feels like. It feels like they're tapping into kind of like a certain historical version of a dragon that maybe not quite as, I guess, westernized as it, you know, normally would be. So there is a bit of a difference there, and you can see a lot of a bird in this one as well, like the way the feet are. There's a very bird-like quality to this, and even the fact that these are a bit smaller, you know, and the shape of the head as well, and the thinness of the head. I get a lot of bird vibes from this type of thing, which is, I guess, more dinosaur-y, I suppose, if that's a word. So there is some interesting stuff going on here that's definitely unique, that isn't just a classic dragon. But, you know, hey, I mean, I'm not the expert on this, so if you've got any ideas, you know, let me know in the comments. That'd be great. But, you know, I think overall it's a pretty cool feature for the Stormcasting that's really giving them, you know, that mobility. Because one thing that I've noticed coming into this game, and I'm collecting Stormcast, is that, you know, you want that delivery mechanism. Like when you play 40k, you have transport vehicles, you have, you know, ways of having airborne troops and all this kind of stuff, so you can get across the board quickly and capture objectives and so on. But in AOS and fantasy, you know, you don't have as many of those options. You have to take basically monsters or creatures that have wings, and you're hoping that they've got enough damage on them to stick around, and mostly they don't. Mostly they're lighter units or throwaway units or sort of chaff units that are designed to either block or hinder movement or just basically harry the opponent's army, but not really actually do the damage until you get to the sort of character monsters and the larger stuff, which usually have riders. And here we're getting a sort of in-between where it's like a like a flying, mounted horse rider or something like that, but with a bit more output. So that's what I'm hoping it kind of is, something that is actually substantial, and I'm guessing that it probably is, considering they're in the new armor. So this is likely a 3+ armor save, and as long as the attacks on them are decent and there's enough reach, then this should be a pretty solid unit, and give you that ability to move, because a lot of the units seem a bit slow in Stormcast, just from the outside looking in, and devising what sort of army I want to. I like those kind of armies where you have a bit of choice and you can have lots of flexibility. And I'm hoping that they bring that. It looks like they're getting it. It looks like they're getting a lot of that. So yeah, that's a positive sign, right? And for those that really love the dragon thing, they can do a whole thing on dragons, which is nice. So let's before I keep waffling on about that, let's have a look at some of the others. So I do actually like. So this is the leader guy, which is not bad, but I actually kind of like the unit that we're about to see, because they've actually done the thing that I guess the big dragons don't have, and that is give you different poses. So there's some with wings down and some with wings up, which is really nice. So you'll actually get a bit of movement across the unit, which is what you want if you're going to do an army of them. You want to have a few variety of poses, and they seem to have given that, which is really nice. So he's pretty cool. But obviously the flying stand thing is a bit subject, the thick thing into the stomach. Hopefully there'll be ways to convert that so you don't have to have that, or maybe put some rubble here and have him flying off the rubble or something. That'd be nice. But here we're seeing the riders. So the riders are, I think, pretty cool, and it looks like you've got. I think there could be. I guess there's 2 poses, but the next one we're about to see kind of looks a bit different. So I don't know whether there's 3 poses or 2, but you've at least got one with the wings up and one with the wings down on the standard riders. These Drac Guard or whatever they're called, Drake Guard. So yeah, I kind of like that. So this one here, this one sort of feels different. I guess it is the same model, but I actually like this one with the wings down. If we get that into the picture there, this is actually quite a nice model, and because of the way the feet are, you could easily do some rubble here and have this coming off or just touching down to land on a piece of rubble and actually like remove the flying base altogether, which is quite nice. So yeah, they've really got some quite strong bird features here in the limbs, very much so. I think, especially these back ones here. So that's really interesting. They're going into that dinosaur, I guess, anatomy there, and that sort of, I guess, bird-like anatomy as well. That's pretty cool. So and these definitely don't have that smiling face look. They're much more angry looking, which I kind of think was a missed opportunity on the big ones, which these ones don't seem to have carried over. They've got a bit more of an aggressive face, which I like. So overall, I think these are actually quite a lot nicer than the big ones from my personal aesthetics. I prefer this. And there's a ton of other conversions you could do, for other armies and so on. There's so many different options here for using these in other armies, which I think is a really good thing. That's going to give added choice, right? So that's pretty cool. And you get like the lance and the sword for the unit, which I'm assuming the lance is going to be the better option, considering you're going to want reach on these guys. If they're on these big cavalry bases, they're going to need, if they might even be in units, I don't know, they could be in units of 2. If so, then you're going to want to have reach on them. You're going to want to have their ability to, get that damage in if they're going to have a good profile, right? So yeah, all in all, really cool. It'd be great to see other color schemes for these as well. I can imagine that these will look really great in like black dragons or, your red ones, all the different colors of the rainbow, right? You could do all kinds of really interesting things with these. So, as a painter, you're going to have a lot of fun. And as a gamer, this gives a very much needed bit of mobility to the army, which I don't think it really has a lot of, except for your deep striking and so on. You're teleporting into the battlefield. This gives you sort of active mobility like on the table, which is, I think, a really needed thing for especially for 3rd edition, as it seems it's very much like 40k now, where we really are concentrating on holding those objectives and completing those battle tactics and those different plans that you've got. And really, movement is king, right? So you need those fast moving troops that can do the job, and these look like that's what they're going to be. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. Sorry for my waffling on. It's looking exciting though. The book's going to be pretty cool. So yeah, if you have, just hit that like button, subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I guess I'll catch you on the next one.